Welcome, everyone, to another Fierce Wireless digital interview. As always, my name is Alejandro Piñero, your host and a team member here at Fierce Wireless. And it's my pleasure today to be joined by not one, but two industry experts, Joel Brand, Senior Director for the Processor Business at Marvell, as well as Stephen Adolf, AVP, CDSP Product Line Management at Marvell. Welcome. Let's start at the top. And I was hoping that you could give us a brief update on what are some of the key issues today when we think about chipsets in telecoms, whether general purpose, special purpose processors. Marvell, of course, has great experience in this topic. So let's give a bit of background.
Sure. The reality in the wireless market is that operators for the last few decades have been operating with fixed capex, and we as consumer demand a lot more from their network. Right? We want faster speeds, wider bandwidth. We're using more sophisticated equipment and services. But that needs to be somehow addressed, right? Somehow the equipment needs to provide all these services while keeping the cost down and while keeping the power consumption down. So these are the key elements of designing chips for this industry, and that's why Marvell is so focused on putting a lot of these capabilities, what we call accelerators, domain-specific accelerators, in hardware. And the focus again is to be able to service the demand while keeping the cost down and the power consumption down.
Absolutely, as always, there's a lot going on in our industry. And I'll certainly ask you, Joel, in a little bit about some of those applications that you were mentioning there, because I'd love to get your thoughts. But before we get into the detail, I did want to ask from the carrier's perspective, as keeping in mind these requirements and the greater needs and expectations from customers and what that means for the networks that they're running. What does 2024 look like for them, and perhaps even looking ahead towards 2025?
So in general, again, this market is characterized by fixed capex from an operator perspective and increasing demand from a user perspective. And my crystal ball is no better than anyone else. I don't know when the next iPhone will come from, whether it will be a metaverse, whether it will be some hologramic phone that requires a lot more. I don't know where it's going to come from, but it will come from, because that's the nature of the world we live in, and that will increase the demand for wireless connectivity, for lower latency. We will see that coming. Whether it will come in 24 or 25 or a few years into the future, I don't know, but it will come. In the very short term, we are experiencing, or the operators are experiencing, the fact that they have hard time realizing the value on the transition from 4G to 5G, and as a result, we are seeing in the market their vendors are suffering in the market as a result of it. But again, if you look at the longer term trend, it's toward more exciting services that will demand more wireless connectivity. I think this short-term reality is opening the door for new players like the hyperscalers, like the satellite providers, to bring some new solutions and new possibilities how this market is going to evolve in the future.
Sure. And how then should these carriers think about how they're building their networks? I mean, you've mentioned there already open networks, you've mentioned satellites, you've mentioned the hyperscalers. Is there a rethink about how to go about the very foundation of how we put cellular networks out there and working?
Absolutely, absolutely, and you see that some of the leading companies in this industry, right? If you think of companies like SpaceX, if you think of companies like Amazon that are launching a satellite wireless services, If you look at the announcements that were made last MWC by all the major players in terms of partnerships with the hyperscalers, with server vendors, absolutely.
And Joel, before we wrap up on thinking about these new applications, I wanted to throw the idea around fixed wireless access, something that we've been covering a lot here at Fierce, and seems to have had a pretty breakout year, I would say, in 2023 and perhaps into 2024 in terms of its adoption and some of the results coming out. Private 5G, something that we've been hearing about a lot as well. This is these are things that we've been hearing about for a while. Is this really the time when we're going to see some serious adoption and use?
Again, my crystal ball is not any better than anyone else, but we see movement. We see again because operators and vendors need to find new sources of revenue streams. We absolutely see the enterprise market. You see a lot of players that are trying to find solutions. And for example, Marvell is working with Dell on wireless solutions, and one of the target markets is the enterprise market, given Dell presence in this market. It's a matter of focus and investment. There are wireless enterprise private network solutions out there. Just like the industry invested a lot in building solutions that are tailored for the consumer market, we can't just assume that the same thing will work for the enterprise market. And as an industry, we need to take that head on and adjust the offering to better match the needs of enterprises.